A very good evening. We're coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I'm Mahina Bongzo.
Good evening. I am Shah Party. Let's start off with a look at tonight's headlines.
Protesters clash with police in Nochiagama, 44 arrested. Wasanta Senanayake defiant, we will remain here and continue the fight. Opposition politicians vow to support no confidence motion against Prime Minister. Minister Sarath Fonseca meets President Sena. Cabinet to decide the fate of the Cabinet Subcommittee on Economic Management.
Starting off the news with some weather-related stories. Heavy rains accompanied by strong winds were experienced throughout Colombo this evening. This was the situation seen around Colombo just a short while ago. Several houses in the Kotahena area were also submerged due to the heavy showers. The Met Department has predicted showers or thunder showers in the eastern, north central and Uva provinces and in the Matale district, accompanied by localized strong winds. Showers in excess of 75 millimeters have been forecast for locations in the eastern, Uva and Sabaragamuwa provinces and in the Galle, Mathura, Matale and Polonnaruwa districts as well.
While making headlines this evening, farmers clashed with police this afternoon during a protest that took place opposite the Tuticorin police station.
Today, many farmers from areas supplied by the waters from the Rajangane reservoir took to the streets against the decision taken to use the water for a separate water supply project. Farmers claim the decision will create a situation where they will not have sufficient water to cultivate crops during both the Yala and Maha harvesting seasons.
If this project goes ahead, all the lands in the Rajangane project will become barren. We are not against the right to have access to drinking water. During this harvesting season, the irrigation engineer refused to release water from the Wawa. No matter what the season is, the water in this Wawa is not sufficient for our needs. The future of all the people in the Rajangane project will be in darkness if this goes ahead.
The farmers stood by the Kala Oya bridge for several hours voicing their protest. They then obstructed the Anuradhapura-Kurunegala main road opposite the Tuticorin police. The police then used water cannons to disperse the crowd. The protesting farmers retaliated and hurled stones at the police. The police were then forced to fire tear gas to control the situation. Four police officers were injured in the clash. According to the police, 44 people were arrested, 5 of them were women.
වැරදි කරන කිසි කෙනෙක් මම රකින්න ලෑස්ති නැහැ.
වෙන කණ්ඩායමක් ආවොත් මේ නිදහස නැති වෙනවා.
අද ඩොලරය 159යි.
මේගොල්ලෝ සුදු කරපටි මන්තොලහාර.
මේ මම ඇමරිකානු පුරවැසි.
Minister Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca called on the President this morning.
The Minister of Regional Development visited the President's official residence for the meeting following his return from an overseas trip. Following the meeting, the Minister did not make any statements to the media. Over the past few days, statements were made regarding Sarath Fonseca being awarded the Ministry of Law and Order.
නීති හා සාමය පිළිබඳ අමාත්‍යාංශ සම්බන්ධයෙන් බරපතල ගැටලුවක් තියෙනවා. දැන් ඔබතුමත් ස්ථානයක ප්‍රකාශ කරලා තිබුණා මේක తాවකාලික. දැන් ඇත්තටම පොලිසියට අයිතිකාරයෙක් නැද්ද? කවුද මේක ඇත්තම අයිතිකාරයා?
It's now with the Prime Minister. He took oath as the Minister of Law and Order.
නීති හා සාමය අගමැතිවරයා.
එතකොට ඇයි එමතුමා මේක తాවකාලිකව එතුමා අමතිවරයා විදියට ඉන්නවයි කියලා කියන්නේ? එතකොට ස්ථිර වශයෙන්
There have been previous instances like this. The former president remained for 2 years and handed over the position.
මෙයාගේ නම යෝජනා වුණා කියලා දිගින් දිගටම වාර්තා වෙනවා. ඒකට ඊයේ මොකක් හරි කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයේ විරෝධයක් එල්ල වුණාද?
No. Cabinet amendments did not reach the cabinet meeting. Fonseca was not in the country when this took place. The Prime Minister took over for a week so we can discuss the matter once Fonseca returned.
අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමා දෙවරුන් දුන්නේ නීති හා සාමය ඇමතිවරයා.
සති දෙකකින් පස්සේ වෙනත් ඇමතිවරයෙකුට ලබා දෙන බව ස්ථිරද?
Yes.
එතුමා මේ අගමැතිවරයාට නීති හා සාමය අමාත්‍යාංශ සති දෙකකට අරන් ඔව් මොකද ඒ සති දෙකකට කරන්නේ? සති දෙකකට අරන් මොකද කරන්නේ?
The nominated person was overseas and this decision was taken until he returns.
තමයි මේ හිටියේ ඒ ගැන තීන්දුවක් ගන්න.
ඔය කියන්නේ එතුමා දැන් ආවට පස්සේ එතුමාට දෙනවා කියන එක පැහැදිලිද එතකොට?
Once he returns, there will be a meeting with the president and a decision will be made.
නෑ ඔබතුමා කියන කාරණා වලින් අපිට පැහැදිලි වෙන්නේ ඒ කියන්නේ සරත් පොන්සේකා මහත්මයාට මේ නීති හා සාමය අමාත්‍යාංශය දීමේ සූදානම
තියෙනවා.
Yes, that is correct.
සූදානමක් තියෙනවා.
State Minister Wasantha Senanayake shared these views on the current political situation in the country. Minister Bandara has said if the necessary changes are not made in the party, a group of MPs might be forced to consider a no-confidence motion. We are not saying we are at that place yet. We are simply saying do not push us there. There were plenty of people who fought to create a change in the party and then just left the party. People like P. Dayaratna, Mano Vijay Ratna, Gamini Lokoge, Johnston, Dayasiri Jayasekara, Maitri Gunaratna, Shiral Laktilaka. Sometimes 20 or 30 people leave at once because they can't make a change. This is the cream of the crop that is leaving the party. He must be expecting us to leave as well. We will remain here and continue this fight. It is because of him that people left this party. If he leaves tomorrow, everyone who left will rejoin.
Various views are being expressed in the political arena regarding a possible no-confidence motion against Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. Here are some views that were expressed today.
If a no-confidence motion is brought in against the Prime Minister for his failure to carry out his duties, his failure to crack down on fraud and corruption, and for protecting the corrupt, the JVP is prepared to support it. If this is a no-confidence motion brought in as part of a political ploy to seize power, then we will consider the situation and the circumstances before reaching a final decision. As the Prime Minister, he is linked to the central bank bond scam, his efforts in appointing the governor and his efforts to safeguard the Rajapaksa family from prosecution. When the Sirilia case was being investigated, he stopped Shiranti Rajapaksa from being brought to the FCID. When there were people who faced passport problems, he called up the Attorney General's department and asked them to grant bail. If the no-confidence motion that is brought in detail these issues, then we stand ready to support it. What should have happened is the police should have taken the Prime Minister into custody. However, what has happened is that the Prime Minister has taken the police into his custody. Before we support it, it has to be put forward. We have heard similar tales before in the political field. We have heard of the arguments and the deal struck inside Sirikota. There is a method in which a no-confidence motion is brought in. There are 2 such motions that we have handed in which have not received a date as yet. We have said it before, we have no confidence in the Prime Minister. There isn't a great debate. The current Prime Minister is a failure. That is what we are saying, that a new government should be set up for the sake of the country. We don't have issues about individuals. We will have to stand only if there is such a motion. I came to announce the cabinet decisions, not to a UNP media briefing. There hasn't been a special discussion.
Bandara ඊයේ කිව්වා
Ranga Bandara said yesterday that a no-confidence motion will be brought in against the Prime Minister. We agree with him. You know the weaknesses of your own leaders. If you work to rectify these mistakes, then you can do some work for the country.
At a media briefing today, UNP parliamentarian Sisira Kumara Abesekara challenged State Minister Palita Ranga Bandara to defeat Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe.
Our State Minister Ranga Bandara made a statement saying he will put forward a no-confidence motion against Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and defeat him. I remember he came over to my place when he first joined politics. It was Minister Johnston who sent him to my place. Ranil Wickremesinghe helped him so much. People in this country might believe what he says, but the people in Puttlam know about him. I challenge him to bring forward a no-confidence motion and defeat the Prime Minister. He will have to resign from all his posts in the Parliament. Ranga Bandara had only 337 rupees in his bank account when he joined politics. But now he has billions in his account. I challenge him to win if he can.
Today, President Maithripala Sirisena met with officials of the Ministry of Finance, the Central Bank and the heads of state banks to discuss a joint loan scheme proposed by the National Economic Council.
This comprehensive program of 100 types of joint loan schemes will provide assistance for local SMEs and businessmen. The President instructed the Ministry of Finance to give him a report within the next 2 weeks. The program is to be implemented across the coming months. President Sirisena stressed attention must be given to the profits earned by state banks, which then flow to the public. He said it is very important for the country's economy that the benefits flow to the general public as well as to the entrepreneurs. The President pointed out that many entrepreneurs face issues related to the terms and conditions and documents required of guarantors when obtaining loans. He said the environment to grant loans for entrepreneurs should be without difficulties.
Abolishing the Cabinet Committee on Economic Management headed by the Prime Minister was discussed at the Cabinet meeting held yesterday.
The Cabinet Committee on Economic Management, or the CCEM, comprises of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, R. Paskaralingam, Charita Ratwatta and the Secretary to the Ministry of Finance, R.H.S. Samaratunga.
අමතුමා ඊයේ කැබිනට් එකේදී මේ ජනාධිපතිතුමා යෝජනාවක් කරාද ඉකොනොමික් මැනේජ්මන්ට් කමිටි එක ප්‍රයිම් මිනිස්ටර් යටතේ තියෙන ඉකොනොමික් මැනේජ්මන්ට් කමිටි එක අවසන් කරන්න අවර කරන්න ඕනේ කියලා
ඊයේ ලොකු සංවාදයක්.
There was a debate yesterday. It takes a long time for the discussions. We have to complete the development programs within another 1.5 years. It can't be done during the last 6 months. This being the case, how can it be achieved? First, we must determine which projects affect the people. Second, how can we reduce the time frame when they go through committees of this nature? There were 2 suggestions that were made. One is to bring the proposals directly to the Cabinet like before, after abolishing the CCEM. If there needs to be extensive discussions, then that can be done through a Cabinet subcommittee. Then there will be no delay. There was another suggestion to take the major projects there and to do the minor projects through the Cabinet. The Prime Minister agreed to this. Everyone agreed. We will decide in the future as to what needs to be done.
Co-Cabinet spokesperson Minister Dayasiri Jayasekara said, since decisions can be made through the Cabinet of Ministers, there would be no requirement for a subcommittee of this nature. It has been discussed that there is a delay when decisions are being taken through this subcommittee. The National Economic Council, headed by the President, is currently in operation, and the President said during the run-up to the local government election that the responsibility of managing the economy will be taken over by him.
Cabinet has approved a 2.5 billion rupees request to purchase supplementary electricity from private power generating sources. The request was made by the Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy.
The request for the immediate purchase of 100 megawatts of electricity has been made, and the CEB has termed it as supplementary electricity. The reason cited is a possible power crisis in the near future.
The request was approved, citing a possible power crisis in the future. This is an immediate measure and not a permanent solution. The CEB has been sitting on a solution for the past 2.5 years. They have not acted on this matter.
The daily demand for electricity in Sri Lanka is approximately 2,253.5 megawatts, and 45% of that requirement is serviced by the Norachole coal power plant. Another 38% is obtained via thermal power plants, and of this percentage, 17% is purchased from independent electricity suppliers. As of yesterday, the generation of hydropower was restricted to 15%. Since 2015, requests were made to enforce a long-term generation plan as a solution to this issue, and the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka approved it in 2017.
They are creating a fear over an energy crisis. They are attempting to make an immediate purchase on the other side. The main issue is the CEB does not have a power generation plan. What is happening is a project that is lining up the pockets of the ministers, MPs and the top executives of the CEB. 50% of the electricity tariffs made by the people are used to pay off these types of fraud and theft. The Public Utilities Commission has approved the general plan presented by another party and not by the CEB. Therefore, the CEB has not agreed nor disapproved this decision. However, under the long-term generation plan, identified power plants are being built. The procurement process for a 300 megawatt LNG plant has already begun. There is a delay and competitive bids have been called for. When the CEB was continuously advocating for the construction of coal power plants, the PUCSL and the general public continued to voice the benefits of renewable energy and natural power generation. This tug-of-war took away the opportunity to establish renewable energy plants or natural gas plants that would benefit the country. If an immediate purchase is to be made from diesel and other fuel power plants, the government is pushing the people out of the frying pan into the fire.
පුද්ගලිකාංශයෙන් මිලදීම ගැනීම කියන්නේ ඇත්තටම රජය ජනතාව කබලෙන් ලිපට වැටීම.
දැන් මේ අවුරුදු 3ක් මේ ආණ්ඩුව කරපු අය කෙටි කාලීන දිගු කාලීන විදුලි අවශ්‍යතාවයන් පිළිබඳව
These leaders who govern the country should purchase electricity after coming into a conclusion on the total long-term and short-term requirement of the country. The Ceylon Electricity Board should implement projects in this regard, but after the sudden decision to purchase electricity for 2.5 billion rupees was reached during the cabinet meeting, President Maithripala Sirisena appoints Ajit P. Perera as the State Minister in charge of the CEB in a surreptitious manner. Why is that? Ajit P. Perera was the former State Minister of Power and Energy. That was changed and the Prisons Department was brought under his purview. These days, Arjun Aloysius and Kasun Palisena of Perpetual Treasury Limited are remanded. He was given the responsibility of the CEB again, and that is because the contract of private purchase of electricity will take place after the decision reached yesterday. You should be ashamed. The country should know to whom the ministerial positions were given by the President, but this was done secretively. The general public should know who the ministers are. They are being maintained by the funds of the general public. The bills of these purchases are paid by the people. Ajit P. Perera holds 2 ministerial positions, and we will get to know about the commission he makes from this 2.5 billion rupees purchase. The burden will be shouldered by the citizens of this country. So President Sirisena and Prime Minister Wickremesinghe should immediately end this drama. As the voice against corruption movement, we would like to state these fraudulent activities should end because the public will not be able to continue in this manner.
Early this week, the owner of Perpetual Treasury Limited, Arjun Aloysius, and its CEO, Kasun Palisena, filed a revision application at the Colombo High Court seeking bail. Today, Colombo High Court Judge Sampath Wijeratne reserved the 9th of March to decide on issuing notice on the respondents named in the application.
The Director of the Criminal Investigations Department and the Attorney General, among others, have been named as the respondents in this application. On the 16th of February, Colombo Fort Magistrate rejected the bail application made on behalf of Aloysius and Palisena and ordered the suspects be remanded until the 2nd of March. Following which, the suspects filed a revision application for bail at the Colombo High Court. Owner of Perpetual Treasuries Limited, Arjun Aloysius, and its CEO, Kasun Palisena, were arrested by the Criminal Investigations Department on the 4th of February over the Central Bank Treasury bond scam.
Questions were raised at the Cabinet media briefing today as to why the former governor of the Central Bank, Arjuna Mahendran, has not been produced before court.
මහ බැංකුව අධිපති පිළිබඳව පහුගිය දවස් දෙක කතා බහ වුණා. සිංගප්පූරු ලිපිණයට ඉන්ටර්පෝල් එකේ ඇව්වහම ඒ යලිත් ඒ කුරියර් සර්විස් ඒ සමාගම කියලා තියෙනවා ඔහු ඒ ලිපිණේ නැහැ කියලා. දැන් මොකක්ද මේ අර්ජුන් මහේන්ද්‍රන් මහතා සම්බන්ධයෙන් ආණ්ඩුව ඉදිරි පියවර?
If that cannot be done, there are steps that can be taken similar to what was done regarding Udayanga Weeratunga. How long did that take? You had a lot to say about that matter as well. Your urgent need is to bring down Mahendran. Why is there no urgency to bring down Udayanga? What was stolen is a large amount, $7.5 million.
ඇයි එමෙතුමා උදැන්වතුන් මහත්තයව ගේන්න බැරි?
ගේන දැන් රතු නිවේදනය නිකුත් කරා. මේ ආවයි කියයි කියලා රතු නිවේදනයක් නිකුත් කරාම ඒ මිනිස්සු ඇවිල්ලා
A red notice has been issued. Just because a red notice is issued, they don't just hand that person over. We sent people from here. He was not there at the address that was given. So officials in Dubai have issued a warrant to find him. So it takes time. That is why there is criticism against the corruption investigations as well. Finding Mahendran will require such an amount of time as well. There isn't a separate Interpol just for this.
විමර්ශන මේවලටත් දෝෂාරෝපණේ තියෙනෙත් ඒකයි මේවා තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒ වගේම කාලයක් තමයි මහේන්ද්‍රන් හම්බ වෙන්නේ. මොකද වෙනම ජාත්‍යන්තර පොලිසියක් නෙවෙයි තියෙන්නේ.
නමුත් මේ එමෙතුමා මේ හිටපු මහ බැංකුව අධිපතිවරයා ලංකාවේ ඉන්න කාලය ඇතුළත තමයි මේ පරීක්ෂණ ආරම්භ වුණේ. අවසාන අධීරයේ තිබෙත ඉතින් ඔබතුමාට
There needs to be a court order. You can't arrest people just because there are investigations. There needs to be an order to arrest someone.
තරංගොඩ ගන්න නියෝගයක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ.
දැන් අගමැතිතුමා පහුගිය දවසේ විශේෂ ප්‍රකාශයක් කරලා මේ ප්‍රශ්න අහද්දී කිව්වා මේ හිටපු මහ බැංකුව අධිපතිතුමාව ගෙන්නන එක තමන්ගේ වැඩක් නෙමෙයි අධිකරණයේ වැඩක් කියලා. දැන් විෂයත් එතුමාට මම හිතන්නේ ලැබීගෙන එනවා. මේ නීතිය හා සාමය පිළිබඳව ලැබිලා තියෙනවා. දැන්වත් එතුමා ගෙන්නයිද හිටපු අධිපතිතුමාව?
මහ බැංකුව
We will bring down the former governor. There is a court order.
නියෝගයක්.
The parents of students attending the partyrajasthan Nicole Model School, primary school rather, in Mihintala demonstrated opposite the school today.
The partyrajasthan Nicole Model Primary School provides education to more than 800 students. The parents of these students were protesting today against the school's principal. The parents allege the principal is soliciting money from the students citing various reasons. 258 parents signed a letter and addressed it to the Director of Education highlighting the corruption of this principal. Some parents did it in secret, afraid of injustice being caused to their children. I was given all the details. When a child was enrolled to grade 1, tiles were laid on the floor of the principal's office. There is a receipt worth 25,000 rupees of items purchased when enrolling a student. The zonal education director claims this is false. The principal has placed her signature and not the treasurer. We call for an investigation and an immediate solution to this. There are shortcomings in the process of enrolling students annually. We have pointed out the flaws to the principal. We have requested her to follow due procedure this time. She has enrolled students in violation of the circular. This cannot continue anymore. Zonal Education Director for Galin Bindunueva, Ratnakumari Vikramasinghe, arrived in the location and promised to investigate the matter and take appropriate measures. Thereafter, the protesters dispersed.
India is planning to invest more than $4.6 billion to develop the V.O. Chidambaram port, formerly known as the Tuticorin port, to challenge the Colombo port in Sri Lanka.
According to Nitin Gadkari, the Indian Union Minister for Road Transport, Highways and Shipping, deepening the draft in Tuticorin port would allow bigger ships which are currently coming to Colombo to do business in India. Developing the Tuticorin port is expected to benefit textile export and promote tourism in India. Authorities have dismissed the possibilities of negative effects from the developments in India. Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi recently declared open a new container terminal at the Jawaharlal Nehru port in Mumbai. Said to be one of the largest investments in the port sector in India, the $1.2 million terminal will be constructed on design, build, operate, finance and transfer basis in Mumbai for 30 years. This month, India and Oman finalized an agreement which gives India access to strategically located port of Dukma on Oman's southern coast. This adds to a growing network of facilities for the country in the Indian Ocean and significantly enhancing India's geopolitical positioning. Earlier this year, India extended a $45.27 million credit line to Sri Lanka to upgrade and rehabilitate the Kankasanture harbour as a commercial port. Speaking to Newsfirst, Dr. Harinda Vidanage, the Director of International Relations at the Bandara Centre for International Studies, said there is geopolitical rivalry among superpowers in the Indian Ocean and that it is wrong for Sri Lanka to pretend that it is not happening. He added that it is also wrong for Sri Lanka to think they are able to manage these superpowers.
Amid political uncertainty and instability triggered by the outcome of the local government polls, the new State Minister of National Policies and Economic Affairs, Dr. Harsha DaSilva, assured a youth symposium on economic policy that macroeconomic stability will be maintained.
Macro stability is critical. We have to maintain macro stability. Without macro stability, nothing else would really necessarily move in the right direction. The government is not planning on abandoning what we started. However, we may not be able to maintain the same speed of the things that have already begun. We are concerned that in the next couple of years that we have some serious challenges on the macroeconomic front, but the government is very responsible, I must say that. We are not going to just let loose just for political expediency. So you can expect the kind of stability that we have created thus far to be maintained in the coming years.
The loss that you could have with this level of political uncertainty is you might lose some of the investors who are now ready to commit money. The approvals which are in the BOI in the pipeline, which will come into effect in 2018. If you lose them, I think that's the biggest loss that can happen, and this political uncertainty might derail that. The time frame to do big wholesale reforms, the window may have been almost quite narrow towards it. So I think what the government could maybe focus on is delivering what they have sort of said, getting some of the provisions in the budget for 2018 that was announced last November. I think things like a pricing formula for fuel and electricity, I think maybe too difficult. I think we have to realistically look at that. I know that IMF has put a target of March and September as goalposts for cabinet approval for that to take place. I think it'll be difficult to get that across in this phase.
And that's a wrap of tonight's edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mahina Bongzo.
And I am Shahan Jarampati. And a quick reminder to stay with us for Crosstalk. From North Korea to Syria, President Donald Trump's foreign policy is literally all over the map. But this is not what Trump administration wants. Artist Peter Lavelle discusses these global matters on Crosstalk, coming up right after the news.